Darkseid. He is he looks like this. If you can draw this way, you can draw Darkseid. Let me draw my thumb. Here we go. Ta-da! This is it. It's got this weird thing that goes up here. This comes down here. The chin thing is here. Short, wide nose. Grim countenance. But again, this is kind of boring. I should have done my thumb at a perspective like this. So I'm going to challenge myself here. Erase this and draw the thumb from here. All right. And so because we're doing upshots, you're going to see more of the underside of his pecs here, of his chest. You might not see his neck because his body's in the way because we're looking up at the vanishing points up there. Okay. Okay. So the fun part about Darkseid is that it's hard to draw a line that's wrong with this character. Express that very poorly. Like every line, you can put down almost any line and it works because he's got this craggly face. And so if you look at it, I'm actually kind of drawing the shapes that will form the shadows. And then what I'm going to do is take a dry brush or brush. I'm going to slab in these shadows later with the brush, and you'll see it kind of come to life at that point. So a lot of these lines are to create, to sort of block in shadows. It's also to create texture. All right. And then there's this chin element here. I think this is kind of like the new 52 version of the character. Falling asleep. All right. There we go. Big dome head. There's that thumb. Look at that. Nailed it. Okay. These lines go in here. This, I create basically an omega symbol on his chin, and then these lines go up like this, and basically form that design work that goes up here. I've realized these aren't the perfectly straight or parallel. I will fix that with ink and whiteout and know that kind of in my head as I go through this. Well, maybe I'll see more of that than I thought. Okay, this is a sort of gem element on the center of his upper chest. just like we were doing before with the apple, a gem is a very kind of flattened apple. Think about it as an apple, if you cut an apple in half. So that shadow is just like that. Right? Center line, pec muscles. I'm going to do like some sort of star field around it that's going to glow. Right, putting the shadows in, bringing them down. And if you notice, I kind of jig the brush a little bit, kind of go up and down so that I don't get a flat black. So I'm introducing some white areas to the drawing and creating a little bit of a dry brush effect. Obviously, as the brush gets drier, it gets harder to manipulate, but if you get well practiced at that, you get some pretty cool effects and create gray values. All right. No faith. Ye of little faith. Okay. All right. Now I got to carry the blacks here into the costume itself. All right, like that. That's just all practice with the brush. I'm not even that good at it. There's some people that are just amazing with brushes. If you go to Ink Monkey, at Ink Monkey, I think is the name on Instagram, that's Sandra Hope. She inks with a brush, and her brush control is amazing, just amazing. So it's kind of fun to watch. It's like, how is that even possible? Or obviously Scott Williams as well. What is he? He's like the Scott Williams on Instagram, or Scott Williams Inks. If you just Google Scott Williams Inker DC, it'll give you his Twitter and Instagram, all that stuff. You guys know that, right? Yes. At this point, day and age, like, we can get a hold of anyone somehow through some form. Before I was talking about the pecs, right? There's one pec. Here's the other pec. This big old thumb head is going to cast a shadow across his body. Right? Correct? And then the underside of this rib cage, same thing. I'm purposely kind of doing it fast on the side of that brush to create a dry brush so that it's not completely filled with black. So I have some light bouncing up off the floor. It's called reflective light, the same thing as we were talking about before on the side of the apple here. This light is bouncing off the floor on the underside of his rib cage, which is angled. So here's his torso, His abs are the bottom part of this fist here. It's at an angle like this. The light is hitting off the ground, bouncing and filling in that underside, and that's why I didn't fill it in all the way. You could fill it all the way in. If the light source above is stronger, it all goes to black, but I'm choosing to dial it back a little bit so you get some underlighting going on. Now you might go, well, you filled in the pec completely, so why not do the same kind of underline? You could. That's what all that cross-hatching used to be in the 90s on the underside of the pecs. That was underlighting, boob underlighting from the ground. But the thing is, the further elements are off the ground, the weaker the light gets, right? Light gets weaker over distance, and so the light bouncing off the ground is going to be stronger here than it is here. So it makes sense that there'll be some fill lighting here, but not elsewhere. Okay. Right. Maybe I feel like that head would throw a bigger light shadow, kind of like that. There are lots of stories I wish I had drawn, but I wasn't offered them. Look, there's only, if you're only drawing like 2 to 3 pages a week at tops, like there are gonna be more projects that you're not doing than you are. So you have to be happy with what you're working on and the projects that you have lined up, because you'll drive yourself crazy. Look, even if I was drawing 5 pages a week, you're still not drawing. The most you're drawing is one book a month, and there's so many great stories coming out every single month that you're like, oh, I wish I could have drawn that. I wish I could have drawn that. Blah 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 blah. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Drive yourself nuts. Learning a language or something. I don't know. So we're gonna do this kind of pattern. I just put some ink on some toilet paper, and if you apply it in random ways, you get kind of a weird Kirby energy thing going. Okay. And then as it dries out, you get more of a dry brush effect, like that. And you can see I'm drawing over the figure at this point, and I know that I'm going to go back in with whiteout and kind of clean that up a little bit. And it's good to kind of step back a little bit. And see the shapes that you're doing on an abstract level. You kind of squint a little bit. Still working. So here I'm just adding textural bumps, warts, blemishes, whiteheads, blackheads, pimples, rosea. Trying to go through all my list of acne. Psoriasis, is that one of them? Do they have that on Apocalypse? Time for a new pen. Yeah, I think this one is pretty much dead. But what I like about it, a dead pen gives you very kind of crazy different lines than a new pen. So I'm going to exploit its deadness and the fact that it's about to fail and create some gray values. Right? Not every line I basically draw now will show up because the pen is kind of dying on me. But I can create some erratic lines in areas where it's going to grayness around the edges of the lips there, underneath the shadow, fill in some tempo shadow up here, create some more definition in that brow, and just more craggliness. Bit of line. It's 10:30, got half an hour. I'm almost done with this. I'm going to do a little whiteout effects, some splatter, some stars, and then we're going to give these away. And then I've got a figure I want to draw for you guys so you can kind of see something that looks more finished or polished. These are just kind of rough sketches. We're just messing around. Here's this crappy pen. And here we're kind of creating this hairy effect because we're putting lots of little lines on this gem that's kind of smooth. So a gem you can render slick with just kind of flat black shapes to create these shadows and the illusion of roundness. Or you can do this, which is to basically create a texture, which seems kind of counterproductive, but actually it works just as well, I think, because you're basically creating values. And let's clean this up. Right, before I told you I was going to clean up some of these lines using whiteout. I'm going to draw white into the blacks again. It's almost like lightning's coming up off of his body. Here's the whiteout. Here's the card. Ink goes on the corner. Splatter a little bit. You only get like 1 or 2 really good splatters off of it. So you gotta make them count. And try not to get it on the figure. Keep it to the background. But if a little gets over, happy accident, no biggie. Kind of breaks up the black a little bit. Kind of like the energy's like crackling around him and kind of actually in front of him too. And again with this, you don't know when to stop. Again, it's just personal preference, experience. You do a lot of it. After a while, you get the hang of it. And this is what you get. And okay. Kind of clean up some of those lines there. Let me thin this out. If you use a Sharpie, because it really kind of gives you one thickness of a line, kind of as a giveaway that someone used a Sharpie, because you'll look at it and go like, oh, that all the line weights look kind of the same. They're always like 1/8 of an inch wide, and that's because that's the tip of the Sharpie. So you sometimes go in. Is my wife a subscriber? I don't know. She is, what's the opposite of a subscriber? She runs the household. Just clean things up a little bit. Sorry, my hat brim was in the way. Just kind of adjusting shadow lines, because where the shadows are really kind of indicate form underneath, and so it's very critical to get it exactly kind of in the right spot. Get some shadings there. Kind of bolster it up there. See how that looks. And hit like a highlight over here. Narrow. thumbs up, right?